I used to believe that some people were meant to stay in your life forever. That if you built something with time, with love and loyalty, it would stand. Madison and I had 6 years behind us. 6 birthdays, 4 vacations, 1 short breakup, and an apartment filled with framed memories and inside jokes. She was always ambitious, but I admired that. She pushed me to be better, smarter, stronger. Or maybe I just convinced myself that's what she was doing. We met in college. I was the quiet guy in the back row of coding class. She was fire, speaking fast, laughing louder than anyone. Somehow, she chose me, and I spent years making sure she never regretted it. Logan, he was different, loud, confident, always the center of attention. He had that kind of charm people either admired or distrusted. I admired it, foolishly. Madison loved having him around. She said he was like a brother to her. "You're just jealous because he has better hair," she'd tease. I'd laugh it off. Back then, I laughed off a lot of things. But recently, things changed. Madison started working late more often. Her texts became shorter, colder. She stopped asking how my day was. Her perfume lingered longer than usual when she came home, like she'd just reapplied it before walking in. And Logan? He started texting me at weird hours. Casual stuff, memes, asking if I was free to hang out. But when I said yes, he'd suddenly be busy. Last Friday, Madison came home around midnight. I was pretending to be asleep. She slipped into bed, sighed like the world had exhausted her, and whispered, "You're so good to me, Ethan." I wanted to believe her. I still do. But a good lie tastes like the truth. And lately, everything I've been swallowing burns. Madison's birthday had always been a big deal. She liked the attention, the glittering photos, the idea that everyone was watching her smile. And every year I made sure she had the best version of that. This time was no different. At least that was the plan. I'd spent 2 weeks organizing a private dinner at her favorite rooftop restaurant. Got her a vintage necklace I found online. Reserved a photographer to catch the moment she walked in, just like she always wanted. But she didn't show up. I waited with the staff dimming and brightening the lights, trying to stretch the time. Waiters kept glancing over, offering water, wine, then finally the check. No calls, no messages. At 8:10, I texted, "You okay? Everything all right?" No answer. At 8:30, I called, straight to voicemail. By 9, I was packing the necklace back into the box with shaking hands. It wasn't until 11 that she texted back. "Sorry, babe, work exploded. I'm so mad I missed it. Can we do it tomorrow?" No apology. No mention of the reservation. Just a casual shrug, like I hadn't been sitting alone under candlelight for 2 hours. I didn't reply. Not because I was angry. Because I didn't know how to lie to myself anymore. The next morning, she acted like nothing happened. Woke up early, made coffee, even kissed me on the cheek. "You're quiet today," she said. "Didn't sleep well," I lied. I brought up the birthday dinner in passing. "Place said we still have credit," I mentioned. "We can use it this week if you're not too busy." Her smile faltered just for a second. "Sure," she said. "That'd be nice." That night, I decided to pick up her favorite cake on my way home. Something felt off, and I was trying to hold on to the pieces. Traffic was brutal. I took a back road I hadn't driven in months, passing a row of boutique hotels. And that's when I saw them. 2 people, 1 man, 1 woman, walking out of the front door like they had all the time in the world. The woman's walk was familiar, light, almost careless. She tossed her hair in that same arc Madison always did when she was laughing. The man beside her, tall, confident, his hand resting just low enough on her back to make my gut twist. It was them, Madison and Logan. I slowed the car, heart slamming against my ribs. They didn't notice. Or maybe they did, and just didn't care. They crossed the street. She leaned into him, whispering something in his ear. He smirked. She laughed. I didn't stop, didn't shout, didn't crash the car or follow them. I just kept driving. Straight past the bakery, past home, into a part of the city where no one knew me. I sat in the car for 2 hours. The cake melted on the seat beside me. I wasn't even surprised. I was empty, like I'd known all along. The thing no one tells you about betrayal is how quiet it is. It doesn't come with broken glass or slammed doors. It's subtle. A hairline fracture behind a smile. A hand on someone else's back. A birthday left forgotten. The morning after I saw them, Madison made me breakfast. Pancakes, burned like always. She kissed my cheek. "You okay?" she asked. "I will be," I said. She smiled, thought I meant I was tired. I watched her sip coffee and scroll her phone. That same screen she'd started turning away from when I walked into a room. That day, I took the long way to work. I thought about confrontation, thought about how it would go. How long has it been? Why him? Why lie to me this long? But none of it felt satisfying. The pain wasn't in the answers. It was in the knowing. And still, I needed more. Something to prove to myself that I wasn't crazy. That what I saw wasn't a one-time mistake. So I did the thing I swore I'd never do. I went through her phone. It was late. She was asleep, curled on her side, one leg off the bed like always. Her phone was on the nightstand, buzzing every so often with muted alerts. Her passcode hadn't changed. I didn't know what I was looking for, but I knew what I found. At first, just emojis. Then words. Then entire threads. Madison. "You shouldn't have done that to me at dinner, Logan. You loved it. Don't act like you didn't." Madison. "I did, but if Ethan ever found out..." Logan. "He's too soft." "He won't." It kept going. Photos, plans, complaints, laughs, her calling me boring, him mocking me for still playing loyal. I felt sick. Not just from what they said, from how natural it was between them. This had been going on for months. I don't remember putting the phone down. I just remember sitting on the floor beside the bed, staring at the carpet until the sun came up. I went to work that day like nothing happened. Said hi to coworkers, answered emails, smiled during a Zoom call. Inside, I was collapsing. At lunch, Logan texted me. "Grabbing drinks Friday?" My fingers hovered over the keyboard. "Can't. Got plans." "With your girlfriend," I almost added. But I didn't. Not yet. The hardest part wasn't the betrayal. It was the fact that I'd once trusted both of them with the most fragile parts of me. And now, they were sharing the pieces I thought were only mine. That night, I watched Madison sleep again. I wondered how many nights she'd pretended, how many times she said, "I love you," while thinking of him. I didn't want revenge. Not then. I wanted distance. I wanted peace. But peace doesn't come easy to the betrayed. And distance? That's the first step to strategy. I stopped sleeping. Not in a dramatic insomniac kind of way. More like my body just gave up on the idea of rest. Every night was the same. Madison slipping into bed after midnight, whispering something about deadlines and client dinners. I'd lie there, listening to the way she breathed, counting how many seconds passed before she turned away from me. It was a rhythm now, predictable, mechanical. And in that silence, I planned. I didn't want a scene. I didn't want screaming matches in our kitchen or some teary-eyed apology that I knew she didn't mean. I wanted something she couldn't control, something colder than her lies. It started with a lie of my own. "I'm flying out to Dallas for a few days," I told her at breakfast. "Work sent me to a client site." She barely looked up from her phone. "That sucks. When?" "Friday, back late Sunday. Guess I'll have to survive without you." She didn't even ask which client. Didn't blink. Didn't care. Perfect. Friday came fast. I packed a bag. Told her I'd Uber to the airport. Kissed her cheek. She barely noticed. But I didn't go to Dallas. I drove to a hotel. Not the one I saw them leave. Another one across the city. I checked in under my middle name, paid in cash, and asked for a room with a clear view of the boutique hotel across the street. It was a gamble. But I'd read enough of their texts to know their routine. Friday nights, late check-ins. Madison liked room 306. Logan always booked it. I waited. 5 hours in a stiff-backed chair with black coffee and my laptop open, pretending to work. At 11:23 they arrived. Madison wore the same coat I bought her last Christmas. Logan had his arm around her waist. They laughed like they didn't leave blood on someone else's floor. I took photos. I didn't know why. Maybe I needed the receipts for myself. Maybe I just needed to do something. They went inside. I didn't follow. That wasn't the point. The point was that she thought I was in another state. The point was that she didn't even check. The next morning I went home. She wasn't there. She came in around noon, smelling like a hotel shower and expensive body spray. "Flight get canceled?" she asked casually. "Nope, just came back early." "Oh." A pause. "You hungry?" I nodded. Let her cook. Scrambled eggs, toast. Her guilt was invisible, but the performance was getting better. "You okay?" she asked again. "I am now." Later that day, I walked into the bathroom and stared at myself. My eyes didn't look tired anymore. They looked hollow. Not dead, just empty. I realized something while watching her pretend to care. She was never going to admit it. She'd ride this out until the moment it collapsed. She'd cry only when cornered. Apologize only when exposed. And Logan? He'd laugh about it until someone ruined the joke. I wasn't ready for revenge yet, not loud revenge. But I was getting close. That night, while she slept, I created a folder on my computer. Blueprint. Inside it, I saved the screenshots, the photos from across the street, the time-stamped images of her wrapped around my best friend. This wasn't just emotional now. It was strategic. She built a lie for months. Now I was going to build something else. Not a fight, a reckoning. People lie with their eyes first, before their mouth ever opens. Madison's eyes started twitching when I walked into a room. A half-second of tension. She masked it well, but not well enough. I could see it now. She was waiting for something, for me to explode or accuse or crack under the weight. But I never gave her that. The colder I got, the warmer she pretended to be. She started cooking more, asking how my day was, touching my arm in passing like it meant something. "Are we okay?" she asked one night, unprompted. "We're fine," I replied without flinching, and that scared her more than yelling ever could. I wasn't reacting the way she expected. I wasn't begging for affection or accusing her of anything. I was just there, present, quiet, untouchable. That Saturday, Logan called. He hadn't done that in weeks. "Yo, haven't seen you around," he said, voice all casual bravado. "Been busy," I answered. "Madison said you're traveling again soon?" "Maybe." Cool. We should hang out soon, though." "Sure." I hung up before he could finish his next sentence. Something about that call felt off. Not guilt. Logan had none. But curiosity. Maybe even nervousness. Maybe Madison was talking to him about me acting distant. Maybe they were starting to wonder if I knew. They should. The next day, I booked a hotel suite again. Not to catch them this time, but to create space. To breathe. I told Madison I was going on another business trip. She offered to pack my bag for me. I let her. Watching her fold my shirts with the same hands she probably used to pull Logan closer made my stomach twist. She walked me to the door like a dutiful girlfriend. Kissed my cheek. "Call me when you land," she said. "Of course." I didn't. Instead, I sat in that hotel room and stared at the ceiling for hours, wondering if I was still in love with the girl I thought she was, or just addicted to the idea that she hadn't always been like this. By Monday, I came home early. She wasn't expecting me. She was on the phone in the kitchen when I opened the door. "I don't know. He's different lately. Like, distant." A pause. Then, "No, not like suspicious. Just cold. Too cold. Even for him." I let the door slam harder than usual. She jumped. "Hey," I said, walking in like I hadn't just heard her trying to read me through someone else. "You're back early," she smiled. "Missed my flight. Thought I'd surprise you." She stepped forward, arms opening, but I sidestepped and walked past her. She stood there, frozen. I could feel the panic rising under her skin. Later that night, she brought it up. "Ethan, can we talk?" "About what?" "I don't know. Us." "There is no us to talk about." That hit her. She blinked, lips parting slightly. For once, she didn't have a rehearsed line ready. "What does that mean?" she asked, voice trembling just enough. "I mean, we're going in circles, but maybe it's time the wheel broke." She sat down on the couch across from me, legs crossed, arms wrapped around herself. "Are you unhappy?" I looked at her, really looked, And for a moment, I almost felt sorry for her, for the person she used to be. I don't even know what that word means anymore. She stared at me like she didn't recognize who I was. That made two of us. We sat in silence until she finally said, "Do you still love me?" I didn't answer. Not because I didn't know, but because I did. And that was worse. The apartment had become a museum of moments I no longer believed in. Framed pictures on the wall mocked me, her head resting on my shoulder, the fake joy behind our smiles forever frozen in time. I stopped noticing when she came or left now. She'd text occasionally when she was working late, but I no longer checked. I had turned numb. And numbness, I found, was a dangerous kind of peace. It was a Wednesday evening when I met her. Claire. I wasn't looking for anything. I just needed air. Madison had gone out early claiming she had a team dinner. I didn't ask for details. I didn't even pretend to care anymore. So I ended up in a quiet corner bar not far from my office, the kind of place that smelled like wood polish and silent regrets. I sat at the far end, nursing a glass of something I didn't remember ordering, when she sat down 2 stools away. Long, dark hair, straight posture, elegant dress like she had just walked out of a meeting or walked away from one. She didn't look at me, not at first, but there was a heaviness about her, familiar. She ordered bourbon, no ice. Her voice was steady but quiet, like she was conserving energy. We sat in silence for several minutes. Then she turned to me and said, "You look like someone who stopped believing in people." I blinked. "Excuse me?" She sipped her drink. "I wasn't trying to be rude. It's just—" I recognized the look. I raised an eyebrow. "And what look is that?" She met my gaze without hesitation. "The one that says you saw someone's real face, and you're still recovering." I let out a short, humorless laugh. "You in therapy?" "Used to be." "Did it help?" She shrugged. "Enough to stop lying to myself." I don't know why I kept talking to her. Maybe it was the honesty. Maybe it was the fact that she didn't ask for my story. She just understood that I had one. We didn't exchange names for the first 30 minutes. We just talked. She told me about her ex, a consultant, successful, cold, slept with her best friend. "Apparently trauma picks predictable paths," she said with a bitter smile. "I haven't said a word about my situation," I pointed out. "You didn't have to." Her name was Claire. She wasn't dramatic. She wasn't flirty. She wasn't trying to be saved. She was just there, breathing in the same kind of ruin I was drowning in. When I finally got up to leave, I hesitated. "Can I see you again?" She didn't smile, but she nodded. "Yeah," she said softly. "I think you should." That night, I didn't think of Madison. Not even once. The envelope was cream-colored, heavy, tied with a black ribbon like it had something noble to say. I found it on the kitchen counter one Thursday morning. Madison wasn't home yet, probably out late at work again. The envelope sat beside a half-drunk glass of wine. No note, no explanation. I picked it up, turning it over in my hand, and slid a finger under the seal. There it was. "You are cordially invited to the engagement party of Logan Whitaker in Madison Lane." My name was printed on the front, no +1, just me. I stared at it for a long time. At first, I thought it had to be a joke, or a mistake. But no. I recognized Logan's smug font choices. I recognized the venue. It was real. Madison hadn't said a word about it. Not the proposal, not the ring, not the plan to become someone else's bride. She had come home every night, kissed me on the cheek, laid beside me in bed, and secretly planned to marry my best friend. I wasn't even mad. I was fascinated. This wasn't just betrayal. This was theater. She didn't want to tell me. She wanted me to find out this way, wanted to control the moment I broke. But she miscalculated something. I was done breaking. Later that night, she walked in with her usual routine. Coat off, heels kicked aside, sigh of fake exhaustion. "You okay?" she asked. I held up the envelope. "This your idea of closure?" She froze, for just a second, then smiled. "You got it." "Yeah," I said. "I got it." She stepped into the kitchen like nothing happened, poured herself another drink. I didn't know how to tell you. Figured this was easier. Sure, I nodded. Classy. She leaned against the counter. You going to come? I looked at her. She didn't look nervous. She looked curious, like she was testing how deep the knife had gone. I'll think about it, I said. She raised her glass. It's going to be beautiful. Yeah, I said. A night to remember. The next day I messaged Claire. You still free Saturday night? Depends. What are we doing? Crashing an engagement party. Yours? Not even close. Then I'm in. I told her the truth, all of it. Not because I needed to confess, but because she deserved to know what she was walking into. She didn't flinch. Didn't pity me. She just said, if you're going to do this, do it for you, not to hurt them. To remind yourself you survived. I hadn't realized how much I needed to hear that. We planned it like a mission. Her dress, my suit, her favorite heels, my old watch, the one Madison never noticed I stopped wearing months ago. Saturday came fast. When I picked Claire up, she took one look at me and said, tonight, we don't look back. The venue was a rooftop garden in the city, elegant, overlit, filled with fake laughter and wine that cost too much. I walked in with Claire on my arm, heads turned. Conversations paused. And then I saw them. Logan in a navy tux, Madison in a white cocktail dress. She looked beautiful in the same way a knife can look beautiful when it catches the light. Her eyes met mine. She wasn't ready. She didn't expect me to come. She definitely didn't expect me to bring someone like Claire. And for the first time since all of this started, I smiled. Not out of spite, not out of anger, but because I remembered who I was before they ruined it. People say revenge is loud, explosive. But that night, it was quiet, subtle, the kind of revenge that didn't need shouting. It lived in glances, silence, posture. Claire and I walked in like we were meant to be there. Heads turned, whispers followed. I recognized some faces, people who used to visit our apartment for wine nights or board games, people who'd once called me brother. Now they didn't know where to look. Claire didn't flinch. She held my arm with calm elegance, chin high, eyes scanning the room like she'd already read every secret hidden behind each cocktail glass. And then we saw them. Logan was telling some over-polished story to a small circle, drink in hand, trying too hard to look effortless. Madison stood beside him, laughing just a beat too late, her eyes darting to the entrance every few seconds. She was waiting for me, and I didn't disappoint. Her laughter stopped the moment she saw Claire. Not me. Claire. The way Claire smiled, warm and poised, said everything without speaking. Madison blinked fast, adjusted her dress, forced her expression neutral. Logan followed her gaze. When he saw us, he did what cowards do best. He looked away, pretended he didn't notice. We moved through the room like shadows cutting through neon. Madison made the first move. Of course she did. She walked over, solo, glass in hand, a practiced smile on her lips. Ethan, she said, like we hadn't lived 6 years together, like she hadn't buried our relationship in a hotel bed. Madison. I nodded, polite. Her eyes shifted to Claire. And you are? Claire extended her hand. Claire. Pleasure. Madison shook it, then pulled back like it burned. I didn't expect you to come, she said, voice low. I figured it was rude to ignore the invitation. I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. She laughed tightly. You look different. Peace will do that to you. She stared at me for a second too long. Then she turned to Claire. So how long have you two been? Claire tilted her head. Long enough to know he's worth far more than he ever got. That shut her up. Madison took a breath, smiled again, and said, Well, enjoy yourselves. It's a special night. Oh, we will, Claire said before I could. We always do. Madison walked away, her posture rigid. Claire leaned closer to me, her voice barely above a whisper. Was that too much? No, I said. It was perfect. The rest of the night passed like a slow-motion unraveling. Logan tried to act like he didn't care. Toasted, gave a speech, thanked friends, family. Didn't mention Madison by name once. When the DJ started playing, Madison danced too hard, laughed too loudly, kept glancing our way like she wanted something. Attention, a reaction. maybe even regret. But I gave her nothing. I watched Claire. She didn't need to dominate the room. She just was, effortless, steady, the eye in the storm. At one point, I felt her hand slide into mine. "You good?" she asked. I nodded. "Better than I've been in a long time." "Then let them watch," she said. "Let them feel what they lost." And I realized this wasn't just about Madison anymore. It was about reclaiming the parts of me I let die while trying to fix someone who didn't want to be saved. The next morning, I woke up lighter. Not healed. Scars don't fade overnight, but freer. Claire was gone before sunrise. She left a simple note on the dresser. "You did good. Call me when you want to breathe again." I stared at those words longer than I should have. The night before had left a mark, not on me, but on them. And I knew it. Because later that day, Madison texted me. "Can we talk?" I didn't answer, not right away. I didn't owe her my time anymore, but part of me was curious. What would she say now that the illusion cracked? She called next. I ignored it. Then came the knock on my door. I opened it without a word. She looked smaller, dressed down, no makeup, hair tied back like she hadn't slept. "I just want a few minutes," she said. I stepped aside, let her walk in. She stood in the living room, like she didn't know where she belonged anymore. Maybe she didn't. "You looked good last night," she said, not quite meeting my eyes. "Thanks." She fiddled with her sleeves. "She's beautiful, Claire. She is." A beat of silence, then another. Then, "I didn't think you'd actually come. You invited me. I didn't think you'd bring someone. That was the point." She flinched, just a little. "Did you do it to hurt me?" "No," I said, voice calm. "I did it to remind myself I'm not what you reduced me to." Her shoulders sagged. She looked away. "I messed everything up." "Yeah," I said. "You did." Her eyes filled, but no tears fell. She stepped closer. "It didn't start like that with Logan. We were just talking and—" I raised a hand. "Stop, I don't want the edited version." She blinked. "You don't want to hear it?" "I don't need to hear it." I saw enough. For a moment, she just stood there, breathing unevenly. "Are you happy with her?" she asked. "I'm not yours to measure anymore." Her lip trembled. "I thought you'd be angry. I thought you'd yell. You always used to hate confrontation." "I still do," I said. "That's why I walked away instead of burning the place down." She looked at me like I was someone she didn't know, someone she'd never tried to understand. "You were always better than me," she whispered. "No," I said. "I just never stopped choosing you, even when you stopped choosing me." She wiped at her eye and laughed bitterly. "He's not what I thought he'd be." I didn't say anything. She wanted me to ask, wanted me to give her space to admit regret. But regret doesn't undo what you destroy. "Do you want me to go?" she asked. "Yes." She nodded, took a deep breath, walked to the door. At the threshold, she stopped. "I never stopped loving you, Ethan." I looked at her. "That's the problem." And then I closed the door. Logan always liked being the one with the last word, the last joke, the last laugh. But the days after the engagement party weren't full of laughter. Not for him. I wasn't there, but word traveled fast. Madison didn't show up to the brunch her mother hosted the next morning. Logan did, alone. He told people she was feeling under the weather. But the look on his face said otherwise. By Monday, I got a message. Not from Madison. From Logan. "We should talk, man to man." I stared at the text for a while, then deleted it. He sent another one 2 hours later. "It's not what you think." No reply. I wasn't interested in his version of truth. I already had the real one. Claire and I had coffee that evening. We didn't talk about Madison or Logan. We talked about music, travel, regrets we weren't ashamed of. "You seem lighter," she said. "I feel it," I admitted, "but there's still something unfinished." She nodded, understanding without prying. "You'll know when it's time." I didn't expect that time to come so soon. Wednesday, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I let it ring. Voicemail followed. "Ethan, it's Brooke. I was Madison's coworker. I'm not sure why I'm doing this. But I thought you should know. Logan's not who she thinks he is. He's not even who you thought he was. I called back. She answered on the first ring. He's been seeing someone else, she said, for at least a month, maybe longer. I wasn't surprised. I'm only telling you this because Madison still talks about you. Brooke continued. She's spiraling. She thinks she made a mistake, and now Logan's making her feel small. Cruel even. Why tell me? I asked. Because I saw how she used to talk about you, and I figured maybe it matters. I thanked her and hung up. That night, I told Claire everything. She didn't react with bitterness or vindication. She just listened. Then she said, "You're free now, truly." But I wasn't done. Not yet. I went to the restaurant Logan always used for business dinners, waited at the bar, didn't drink, just watched. He showed up around 8, sharp suit, polished smile, and not alone. The woman on his arm wasn't Madison, blonde, younger, hanging off him like he was a prize. He saw me before I saw him. His smile faded. He said something to the girl, then walked toward me. "You spying on me now?" he said, forcing a grin. "Didn't need to. You're predictable." He shrugged. "You don't get to act like a saint, Ethan. You're not perfect. I never claimed to be. I just never lied to the people who loved me." He laughed, sharp, defensive. "Madison's an adult. She knew what this was. Don't act like she's innocent." I tilted my head. "You're right. She knew. But you? You pretended to be my brother." That landed. He didn't smile again. "I just hope," I said. "You don't expect her to forgive you when this girl gets old too." I walked out before he could answer. The next day, Madison showed up again, her hair undone, her eyes tired. "You knew, didn't you?" she asked. "About him, about the other woman." I nodded. She sank into a chair. "Why didn't you warn me?" "Would you have listened?" She didn't answer, just stared at the floor. "I gave everything to him," she whispered. "Everything I couldn't give to you. And he did exactly what you both did to me." Her voice cracked. "I don't know who I am anymore." I looked at her. That's not my burden to carry. Grief doesn't always come from loss. Sometimes it comes from the brutal realization that what you clung to was never real. That's where Madison was now. 3 days had passed since she showed up at my door, disheveled, hollow, searching for someone to carry her shame. I gave her silence instead. Claire and I hadn't talked much since. Not because we were distant, but because she understood that some storms had to pass before you built anything in their place. "You don't owe me an update," she said, sipping her tea across from me. "But if you're dragging ghosts into this, be sure you're not giving them your bed." She was right. Madison texted again, then called. Her voicemails grew longer. She stopped hiding the desperation. "I miss you." "Logan's gone. He won't even return my calls." "I don't know who I am anymore, Ethan. I feel like I'm disappearing." I didn't respond. I couldn't. Because I knew what she was trying to do, not out of malice, but survival. She wanted to rewrite history now that she was no longer the villain in her own story. But the ink was already dry. Later that week, I saw her by accident. A grocery store near downtown. No makeup, hair unbrushed, hoodie too big. She looked like someone who had stepped out of her own life. She saw me, froze, then walked toward me like someone approaching a cliff edge. "I wasn't following you," she said. I come here now, every few days. I don't know why." I said nothing. She looked down at her hands. "I'm not okay, Ethan." "I know," I said. "And I know I don't deserve anything from you. But can I say something?" I nodded. "I loved you. I really did. But I didn't know how to hold on to something healthy. Logan felt like chaos. And I guess I needed chaos to feel alive." I let her speak. It wasn't for me. It was for her. "I thought you were boring," she admitted. "Because you didn't hurt me. Because you were stable. Because you were kind. And I hated myself for needing something uglier." I looked her in the eye. "I wasn't boring. You were just addicted to destruction." She nodded, tears on her cheeks now. "I know." A silence passed between us. I just want to be someone you could forgive, she whispered. I already did, I said. That's why I'm not angry anymore. But you'll never come back, will you? No, I said softly, because I'm not him anymore and you're not her. She wiped her face, nodded, then walked past me and out the store. I never saw her in that neighborhood again. That night, Claire came over. She didn't ask questions. She just sat beside me. We listened to music, shared quiet glances, let the room breathe. And for the first time in what felt like a lifetime, I didn't feel haunted. Some people unravel loudly, others come apart in whispers. Logan fell somewhere in between. It started with the rumors. I didn't go looking for them, but they found me anyway. He'd lost 2 major clients in the span of 3 weeks. A deal gone wrong, something about missed meetings, sloppy behavior. Word was he'd been drinking more, showing up late, burnt out. I'd seen it coming. Madison was gone, moved out of the apartment they'd shared. No engagement, no wedding date, just silence. Logan tried reaching out again. Be a man, Ethan. Talk to me. You're acting like you never made mistakes. You think you're better than me now? The messages blurred together, equal parts guilt, arrogance, and desperation. I didn't answer any of them. He needed someone to blame. I refused to be his scapegoat. Claire and I spent more time together now, not in dramatic gestures or declarations of love, just time, dinners, long walks, music on rainy nights. I don't want to rush anything, I told her once while we stood side by side brushing our teeth. I don't either, she replied, rinsing, but I like where we are. We weren't perfect, but we were honest, and honesty, I'd learned, was rarer than gold. One afternoon, Claire got a call from an old friend, someone who had been at the engagement party. She told Claire that Logan had been fired from his firm. The story went that he'd shown up drunk to a client dinner and got into an argument. Public. Loud. Claire told me gently, like she wasn't sure how I'd take it. I didn't feel satisfied. I didn't feel pity. I just felt finished. Later that night, I found myself walking through the old neighborhood, past the cafe where Madison and I had our first date, past the bench where Logan once gave me advice I thought came from a real friend. I didn't stop, just kept moving. I passed the building where Madison used to live. The lights were off, no sound. It felt like memory had been scrubbed from the concrete. And maybe that's what closure really is. Not the absence of pain, but the absence of echo. Claire met me at home. We didn't talk about the past. We didn't need to. She curled up beside me on the couch and said, "You're somewhere else tonight." I was, I admitted, but not anymore. She kissed my shoulder. Good, because I like you better here. It was in that moment I realized I had rebuilt something from the ashes, not a replica of what I lost, but something entirely new. Not perfect, not flawless, but real. It came on a Sunday, quiet, like most things that matter. Claire and I had just returned from a weekend in the mountains. A small cabin, no phone service, just silence and trees and the luxury of disconnection. The sun was still setting when I checked my phone. Dozens of missed notifications. Nothing urgent. But one stood out. Madison. Please, just one conversation. I stared at it for a long time. Claire saw the look on my face but didn't ask. She never did. That night, I didn't sleep. Not because I was anxious, but because I knew this was the final page, the one I had to write. The next morning, I replied, "You have 20 minutes. Tomorrow, 11. Same cafe as before." She didn't send anything back, just a red receipt. When I arrived at the cafe, she was already there. Same table we used to sit at when we were happy. She'd ordered tea, no makeup, a plain white shirt, hands shaking around the mug. She looked up when I approached. No smile, just quiet. I sat down. She looked like she had practiced what she would say. But when the moment came, she froze. "Take your time," I said. She took a breath. "I don't deserve to be here." "You don't," I said, honest but not unkind. She nodded. "I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even know if I'd forgive me. But I need to say this." I stayed quiet. "I ruined everything," she said. "Not just us, me, who I was, Who I could have been. Her voice trembled. You didn't deserve what I did to you. I thought you were weak for being kind. I thought love was supposed to hurt. It isn't, I said. I see that now. She wiped her eyes. Logan. He treated me like I was disposable. And the worst part is, I still tried to fix it, like maybe I deserved to be treated that way. I used to feel the same way, I said, when I caught you with him. She looked away, ashamed. I wanted to tell you. So many times, but I was afraid you'd see me for what I really was. I already did, I replied. And I stayed. That was my mistake. I miss the version of me I was with you, she whispered. I was softer then, whole. I didn't correct her. She had broken long before me. I just happened to catch the shatter. Do you love her? She asked after a long pause. Claire? Yes, I said, without hesitation. She nodded. She's everything I wasn't. No, I said. She's everything you chose not to be. That cut deep, but she didn't argue. I'm leaving the city, she said. I need to get away. Try to figure out who I am when I'm not drowning in someone else. I hope you do, I said. She stood slowly, pushing the mug aside. Thank you for letting me speak, I nodded. Goodbye, Madison. She lingered as if waiting for something, a final thread, but there was none. She left without looking back. I sat there for a while, not grieving, not nostalgic, just still, and for the first time truly at peace. When I got home, Claire was reading on the couch. She glanced up, saw my face, and smiled. Everything okay? She asked. I kissed her forehead. Yeah, just finished something I didn't know was still open. She nodded. Then let's not reopen it. No, I said, pulling her closer. Let's not. 2 months passed. The air shifted. Warmer days, softer light. The weight was gone, not lessened. Gone. Madison didn't message again. She disappeared as she said she would. Logan had become a background whisper, one of those names that made people glance around before speaking. He'd burned out publicly, then privately, and now no one cared enough to ask what came next. Ethan had stepped away from it all, and into something new. Claire's hand was in his more often now, not because she needed it, but because he wanted to hold it. They walked everywhere, laughed easily, ate at places that didn't remind him of anyone else. One afternoon, Ethan got a call from an old colleague. A tech startup in Seattle was scouting for someone to lead a new team, a fresh culture, a clean slate. He listened, thought about it, told Claire over dinner. Would you go? She asked. I might, he said. If you'd come with me. She smiled into her wineglass. I might. That night he stared at his ceiling, not haunted anymore, but wondering. About growth, about movement, about starting without dragging the old pieces along. Claire curled against him. You okay? Yeah, he whispered. Just realizing I'm not the same man who let people walk all over him. You never were, she said. You were just too busy trying to make broken people feel whole. The next morning, he met with a publisher. Not for a job, for a story. He'd been writing, slowly, privately, about everything. The relationship, the betrayal, the healing. A fictionalized version, names changed, but the heart of it still raw, still real. The editor read the sample and said, "This feels like a war report dressed in romance." Ethan chuckled. It kind of is. By the end of the week, he'd signed the contract. Claire brought home champagne. To putting pain on paper, she toasted. To not letting it live in my chest anymore, he replied. They danced in the kitchen that night. No music, just the soft rhythm of moving forward. The next day, Ethan posted something on social media for the first time in months. Sometimes peace isn't found in forgetting, it's in remembering without bleeding. People reacted. Some knew, some guessed, most just scrolled past. But Claire liked it, and that was enough. Weeks later, Ethan ran into someone he hadn't seen in a while, Logan's ex-business partner. They shook hands, awkward but civil. Didn't think you'd bounce back like this, the man said. Ethan smiled. You never know how tall someone stands until you stop standing on their neck. The man laughed, uncomfortably. You ever hear from Madison? Ethan shook his head. Some things are better left in the fire. He walked away before any more questions could follow. He had a flight to catch. Seattle, Claire, a new story, not a sequel, a new book, a new title. And this time he was the author. Seattle felt like a different country, not just in weather or skyline or air, but in spirit. I stood on the balcony of our new apartment, watching the morning fog roll in. Claire was inside, humming something soft as she made breakfast. No chaos, no lies, no eggshells to tiptoe on, just breath and room to be. We had moved 2 weeks earlier. No announcement, no fanfare, just a clean cut. I'd sent one final email to my old contacts. Thank you for what we built. I'm building something new now. No hard feelings, just forward motion. I didn't wait for responses. The book was already halfway through edits. My editor kept saying the same thing in every note. This feels like a man reclaiming his voice. She wasn't wrong. Claire surprised me with a framed print of the draft's first page. She gave it to me the day we moved in. You put it in ink, she said. That's how you know it's real. I asked her once, why did you trust me when I was still bleeding? She looked up from her tea and said, because you never asked me to fix you. You just let yourself heal. It was the greatest compliment I'd ever received. We didn't talk about Madison or Logan anymore, not because it was forbidden, because it was unnecessary. They weren't ghosts. They were ashes. I did wonder once or twice if Madison ever found herself in a new place, staring out over some other city, asking the same questions I used to ask myself. But I didn't wonder for long. One day, I received a message through my website's contact form, anonymous, unsigned. I hope you write more. The way you tell pain makes people feel less alone. Maybe it was her, maybe not. Either way, I smiled. Not everything needed to be traced back. Some stories are better left open-ended. The next morning, Claire and I went to a local bookshop. I signed a few pre-orders, talked to readers. One young man shook my hand and said, your main character. He reminded me of myself. But by the end, I felt stronger too. That was it, the full circle moment. The story that had once broken me was now healing someone else. That night, I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my tie before our first big dinner event in the city. Claire walked out of the bedroom, stunning as always. She looked at me and said, you look like a man who doesn't flinch anymore. I don't, I replied. We walked out the door, hand in hand. The hallway was quiet, but inside me, everything burned with life. No more pretending, no more doubting my worth. I had lost everything I thought I needed. And I built something better from what remained. Not because of them, in spite of them.